Hey everyone, and welcome back to another best team here today. We've gone and done the best team overall and the new Pokemon only one. So today, we're getting started with the alternate starters portion of things. Today's team will be taking on Quaquaval as its lead Pokemon. So building a team around this dancing peacock duck was pretty interesting. We have mostly new Pokemon on this team, different from both of the last two best teams, with the exception of two Pokemon, and we'll get there in a little bit. So I guess you guys understand the best team, so I can just get right into it. Before we get started though, we have a brand new exclusive series over on Mystic Umbreon Shorts. I'm going to be taking a Pokemon of your guys' choice and seeing how well it performs in a Scarlet and Violet playthrough. Should said Pokemon be on your team? This series will go up once a week every Sunday, so be sure to head over to Mystic Umbreon Shorts to go check that out. This week's Pokemon is Scovillain. Also over on Mystic Reads, I'm reading the Yaju Sanin, a Naruto fanfic, and Road to be a Pokemon Master Kanto edition, where Ash and Serena have a Kanto adventure together. I will leave links for both these channels in the description below and in the ad card above. We'll lead off with Quaquaval, today's star of the video. Quaxly will evolve into Quaxwell at level 16, and then finally into our dancing peacock star at level 36. I don't have too terribly much to say here for an introduction, as is often the case with starter Pokemon on these alternative best teams. So I'll just focus in on this. It's got a great base 120 attack, and its base 85 speed is pretty solid. And don't you worry, Quaquaval gets access to a pretty good move that will raise its speed anyway. With that, I guess we'll just get into the move pool. So, that glorious move pool is Acrobatics, Close Combat, Aqua Step, and Ice Spinner. That's a very solid set of moves to have access to, offering some of the best coverage one Pokemon can hope to have. We start with Acrobatics, learned at level 43, or via a TM that you can craft after beating Mela. That'll cost you Wattrel and Bombardier Feathers. Then, with Close Combat, you'll again learn that at level 58, or craft it after beating Airy with Riolu Fur, Makuhita Sweat, and Crabrawler Shell. That's gonna be probably pretty late game either way, so utilize some other fighting type options Quaquaval has until then. Next is Aqua Step, which is learned upon evolution, and just so happens to be this Pokemon's signature move. And finally, we've got Ice Spinner, which you'll get for beating Grusha. Ice Wind, I suppose, is your alternative for an Ice-type move until you actually beat Grusha. So our first Pokemon returning from a former team is that rascal Tinkaton. Yes, relax, there's no Gardevoir on the team this time. Take it easy. You can find Tinkatink near the Grand Olive Orchard, just being a tiny little menace with its hammer. And eventually, at level 24, it'll evolve in the Tinkatuff, and finally in the Tinkaton at level 38. Now, the only thing that really goes against Tinkaton is its stats, which we went over last time. It's surprisingly fast for a Pokemon of its type, but aside from its 105 special defense, the rest of its stats, sans HP, don't go over base 77. It needs help as an attacker, but even then, that hasn't stopped it from being one of my favorites in the 9th gen and one of the most popular Paldean Pokemon in general. Why would anyone ever call it overrated? I wonder who would ever do such a thing. It's kinda messed up. So for Tinkaton today, we've got Gigaton Hammer, Play Rough, Brutal Swing, and Swords Dance. That's the same set from the original best team, as a matter of fact. It gets its hands on the very powerful base 160 power move Gigaton Hammer upon evolution. And while it is a move that can't be used back-to-back turns, you're alright with that since it isn't something as bad as needing to recharge. The next move up is Play Rough, learned at level 35, which of course is another very nice stab move for this little lady. Then we have Brutal Swing, learned at level 24, and offering some dark type coverage here. Finally, Swords Dance, that's a TM you can find at West Province Area 1. And of course you'll also get the recipe after beating Airy. It calls for Scyther Claw, Zangoose Claw, and Gibble Scales. Swords Dance can be necessary to make Tinkaton hit as hard as possible, but I again will suggest using Flash Cannon if you want to be able to use another Still type move after connecting with Gigaton Hammer. Next up, we have our other returning member from a previous team, Clodsire. It's still just as adorable and just as goofy, and it fit in very well among the squad I wanted to put together here, proving that it is in fact one of the best in-game Pokemon. I know this one will be popular with you guys, but I don't want to spend too much time on it since we had it in the last video. Paldean Wooper is easily one of the earliest Pokemon you can find in the game and will evolve into Clodsire at level 20, which is also a very early evolution, making this even more worth using. It's incredibly specially bulky and a decent attacker, but having that bulk puts it in a position where it can easily heal with Water Absorb and tank most other moves while hitting with its nice physical attacks. Clodsire's set is once again going to be Poison Jab, Earthquake, Megahorn, and Zen Headbutt. I'm feeling like Clodsire has a spot on like every best team in its own way with a moveset like this. It will learn Poison Jab via level up at level 24. So on top of being an early evolution from Wooper, it also gets a strong move early too. That's nothing short of impressive, folks. It'll learn Earthquake either at level 48 or by using a TM. That TM can be gotten from the League Rep in the Asado Desert. Very simple. Then with Mega Horn, that will be learned at level 36, and that's some pretty good coverage. This set then closes with Zen Headbutt, which you'll learn via TM. You can find that on a cliff near the water gym in Koskarafa City, or after beating Atticus. You can craft the TM with Veluza Fillet, Girafarig Fur, and Dunsparce skills. Next up, we have a Pokemon I hypothesized would be a good one to throw on a best team. And I was definitely right. It has a place on any team headlined by a water type from here on out, as long as it's reasonably available. When you can get all 3 starter typings represented among 2 Pokemon, it's a nice thing to have one that's easily available, and as an attacker, isn't that bad. I mean, the only other options would be Ludicolo and Volcanion, and obviously the latter isn't at all viable for an in-game playthrough. So how do you get this nicely typed Mon? Well, you need to catch a Capsakid in West Province Area 1, and then evolve it with the Firestone into your Scovillain. Its 108 attacks will make it pretty useful, and it should bring a spicy kick to your playthrough. Spicy Extract, Flamethrower, Seed Bomb, and Crunch are the moves I picked out for Scovillain. The Spicy Extract move is learned when we get an evolution, and serves as a way to lower the target's defense while also raising up Scovillain's attack. You can't hate on a good setup move like that for when you may need it. Then, with Flamethrower, that's learned upon evolution as well. Seed Bomb is then learned at level 44, as well as a TM in East Province Area 1 near the Great Crater. Finally, with Crunch, it's a move I threw on to round things out, since Scovillain doesn't exactly feature much coverage. It'd be pretty cool if this thing could use something like Iron Head or something, but it is what it is. Well, you guys have been asking for this one constantly, and today, I'm giving it to you. One of our newest birds, Kilowattrel, fits a very nice spot on this team right now as a special attacker. We needed one of those, you know? This is a generation that had way too many physical attackers. Kilowattrel evolves from a Wattrel at level 25, becoming a 105 base special attacker with 125 speed. And that, folks, is a combo that makes for some usefulness without a doubt. I like the frigate bird as an attacker, and especially as a hardcore stab machine. As a matter of fact, this big Electro bird is running Electro Ball, Volt Switch, Hurricane, and Air Slash. It's only a moveset of stab, but it's a damn strong one regardless. Electro Ball, of course, is a great move for a speedy Pokemon, being learned upon evolution. Then with Volt Switch, you'll get that at level 43. Then, with Hurricane, that's either level 55 or earlier with the TM that you can find in North Province Area 1. Finally, you'll need the TM on Air Slash. You can find it in South Province Area 1 or craft it after you beat Atticus. It'll cost you Wingull Feather, Noibat Fur, and Flamigo down. This is a very basic stab-only moveset, but if any Pokemon was going to be like that, it's good that it's Kilowattrel. So, with the final spot on the team, I've given that to Houndstone. This muddy looking dude is bringing its jaw into battle for us, as many of you felt he should have seen some representation on the original best team, but I'd always planned to feature it here. Greavard will burrow its way out of the ground at Dalazapa Passage, Glaciado Mountain, and West Province Area 3. It'll evolve at level 30 during the nighttime into Houndstone and bring upon its powerful signature move to the team. Houndstone's 100 in both physical stats is the same deal as most of the team, but in a region where physical Pokemon are in such crazy abundance, it's not shocking. Today's final moveset on our Houndstone will be Last Respects, Phantom Force, Fire Fang, and Play Rough. This moveset is very much inspired by comment after comment you guys have left me regarding Houndstone. I know Last Respects is great, especially in competitive, but I didn't see a lot of merit to it in a playthrough, because you shouldn't be in a position where you're having Pokemon faint in battle anyway. It kind of goes against what we're doing with the best team. Though I suppose I'll give you guys what you're looking for here. Houndstone learns Last Respects upon evolution, and then Phantom Force at level 46 or via TM, that being easy to find in the cave near Inlet Grotto. Fire Fang is learned via TM as well. Obtain that in West Province Area 1. And finally, Play Rough is learned at level 36. Houndstone will probably be a nice last option, or just generally a mop-up Pokemon. You know, if things seemingly go awful, and you've let your whole team get knocked out. Now, let's get into what we do well against. We'll start with the Titans, and against Cloth, you can use Quaquaval with no problem. The Bombardier is defeated relatively easily by Tinkaton, Orthworm will fall victim to Skullvillain's fire moves or Quaquaval's fighting, the two Paradox Titans are both ground and thus very weak to Quaquaval's water moves, and finally for the Dondozo and Tatsugiri, you can use Tinkaton's fairy moves for the latter and Kilowattrel for the former. After you finish the Path of Legends, you'll go up against Arven, and in the battle with him, you'll use Quaquaval for basically his entire team. But that Skullvillain can be taken down pretty easily by Kilowattrel. Now for the team star leaders. You'll have Quaquaval for Giacomo. The fighting type moves will crush Dark. Your battle with Mela will be easily handled by Quaquaval as well. Easy pickings for a water type. When you battle Atticus, you can use Clodsire, because it's going to eat up poison hits and dish out hard ground damage. You can pretty much do the same against Ortega too, and use Tinkaton to support it with the steel type move. Finally, against Aerie, Kilowattrel's flying type moves will lead the way, but Clodsire and Tinkaton can be solid support for it for a Pokemon like Lucario or something. Then it's time for Cassiopeia, or really our friend Penny and her team of evolutions. We've got Quaquaval for Leafeon, Umbreon, and Flareon thanks to the moveset we gave it, and then Kilowattrel for Vaporeon, and finally Clodsire for Sylveon and Jolteon, as well as Tinkaton for Sylveon. Finally, it's time for Victory Road. Katie's team, as well as Brassius' team, will both be handled by Kilowattrel and its flying type moves. Iono's electric types are going to suffer at the hands of Clodsire, and even if Misdreavus is using Levitate, you can still throw Kilowattrel at it if you really want it. Kofu is going to be a mark for Skullvillain and Kilowattrel, followed by Larry, who will get shoved into an early retirement by our boy Quaquaval. Who cares if Staraptor has Aerial Ace? Then, with Rhyme, you can pretty much line up Houndstone and Tinkaton and have zero issues beating her whole team. Tulip will be interesting, because while your Houndstone will do well, you'll need to just Brutal Swing of Tinkaton to take down Farigiraf. Finally, in the battle against Grusha, you're gonna get the most out of just letting Tinkaton crush with its hammer and have Skullvillain back it up. This leads us to the Elite Four battles, starting with Rika and her ground types. Her team is very hurt by water and grass type moves, but something like her Clodsire will be handled by your own Clodsire. The battle against Poppy is an easy one for Quaquaval and Skullvillain, so don't stress it. Larry comes back with flying types, but we convince him that his time is over and that he's an old man, using Kilowattrel and Quaquaval's Ice Spinner. Finally, Hassel's dragon types are well handled by that same Ice Spinner move in Tinkaton's fairy type moves. When you get through everyone, you'll have to contest with La Primera herself, Gita. Her Espathra is defeated by Houndstone, Go-Go and Veluza both fall victim to Kilowattrel's stab, Avalugg and Kingambit can be either both defeated by Skullvillain or Quaquaval, regardless of which way they go down. And finally, Clodsire can EQ that Glamora. And that's it, you're a champion. Then, after you become champion in Paldea, you'll battle your rival Nemona one last time. Her entire team can probably be soloed by Quaquaval with the exception of her Pawmot, which will require a Clodsire appearance. I still hate how easy they made her. It's a shame. Now for your battles against the professors. Turo's Iron Bundle, Iron Jugulus, and Iron Thorns are all an easy bunch of battles for Quaquaval, though Clodsire might be safer for the futuristic T-Tar. Speaking of Clodsire, it should have no problem with Iron Moth and Iron Hands by using Earthquake. Iron Valiant is a Kilowattrel opponent. That's probably the safest way to take it down. Then, if you're taking on Sada, you can use Kilowattrel against Slitherwing, Skullvillain against Sandy Shocks. Brute Bonnet's going to be a victim to most of your team, so take your pick. And finally, the other half of the team is going to be taken down by Tinkaton's Playrough. Alright, boy, does that not get any easier to try and plow through? Thank goodness we don't have to do it much more. This team is phenomenal, honestly. It definitely rivals the original best team. We handled everything well, to the point where Houndstone really didn't need to be used too often, and was more of a mop-up support like he should be, considering his Last Respects move. I had a good time with this one, and I hope you guys enjoyed this team. We've got one more coming up for Meowscarada, so keep an eye out. With that, I'll be seeing you guys soon. Thanks for watching the video and for coming through and enjoying Scarlet and Violet with me. We've got so much content coming surrounding Gen 9 through the end of the year and beyond, including the top 10 strongest Pokemon, the best team for the games, and much more. If you're interested in more Mystic content, check out my TikTok and Mystic Umbreon Shorts YouTube channel. When we get to 5,000 subs on the channel, we're gonna have a new series related to Scarlet and Violet that will be exclusive to there, so go subscribe. Also, if you're into fanfictions or Genshin Impact, check out Mystic Reads and Tibotchinary. I offer a ton of creative spoken word content over there, and I do a bunch of theories and lore videos surrounding Genshin Impact. So come join me over there at that floats your boat. That's all for now. Thanks again for watching, and see you next time for more Scarlet and Violet content.